Hello, welcome to Daniel Vaillan's analysis of entertainment. I don't know if this is going to download or not, so let me say that I don't know if the video is going to download, so I've never tried anything like this before, but I'm still going to try and let everybody know or really understand what this is about. And the first thing I want to say is I've been doing podcasting a long time, and for the longest time I said I feel like I need to do more. And 2 years ago, um, somebody I was very close to had died, and we would always talk not just about my podcast, but about the main topic of my podcast. The reason I look like that is because I'm looking at the TV, wondering if there's something I can talk about right now. That would be a good example to start off with. And it's a lot harder to find episodes to talk about than it is to find wrestling shows and pay-per-views. Because it would be easier for me to talk about the end results of matches and what I think should have changed. But what I will do is I'm looking right here. I thought it was very important to point out that some of these episodes are more about what we may call a quote stunt, but it's a stunt that you can see. It's not a stunt that they had to redo. And let me put it this way. I'm referring to a TV show or a movie. TV show episode or a movie scene that you can see it's like a stunt, but if you don't like wrestling, or if you don't read a story about a wrestler's real life story, might not put together that this is considered a stunt in a sense. And in wrestling, the biggest scene in wrestling is the stunt. So that's why I think it's very important to point out the similarity. I do like this when I'm thinking I'm not sure what to say. And I've learned throughout the years podcasting that it's better to be quiet than to say like that, because it can drive people away. So I'm just gonna be honest. I really don't know what to say about. Okay, I know how to explain what I'm thinking, but I don't know the best way to explain it if I was to show the video that I want to talk about. So this is the best way of saying it. even though it's an everyday life situation, girls liking boys, boys liking girls, and wanting to do the, I'll use the letters PDA to let people know what I mean. Even though that's normal everyday life things, I think a lot of times we overlook the storytelling part of it. So that's why I want to talk about some of the scenes, some of my favorite scenes from some of my favorite episodes that lead into the scenes because I know how important that is. Um, on Family Matters, I'll start off with that because it's one of my favorite shows, and right now that's really the only show that I can record on TV that I will talk about on this podcast. In the first season, it took I can only assume how many episodes it took for them to show Steve Urkel the first time, but when they showed Steve Urkel first time, it goes without saying that that's what really helped the show out a lot, because it helped give them ideas of what to do and what to write about in episodes. Now, a lot of their episodes early on were great, but they didn't have a lot of comedy-like elements to it until they brought Steve Urkel in. When him being a klutz, being a nerd, being aggravating, the things they showed him with early on was what made it hilarious. So I think that's pretty much why he went from being a guest star to being the star of the show in the second season. Because not only was it a breakout role for him as an actor, but it saved the show from running out of ideas, and it may have saved the show from getting canceled because the first year, even though it was very interesting, they didn't have a lot of ideas to use. So that's why I think he saved the show in a lot of ways. It's very aggravating to watch. I just wanted to share with y'all my sorry, I was afraid that I was gonna have some trouble with my allergies, so I paused. So, episodes like The Quilt, Basketball Blues, False Arrest, those, the only serious episode out of those three was The Quilt, and that was the first time they spoke about their family history in any way. Because The Quilt had a different, heirlooms, I guess you could say, that you could make a patch out of and put it in the quilt, and that is an episode I want to talk about, but I just wanted to I don't want to talk about it right here, right now, because I wanted to make a point of what my podcast is about. Basketball Blues was one of my favorite episodes because ever since I've been a kid, basketball has been one of my favorite sports to play. Baseball was a favorite sport of mine to watch because, and I think it started when I was a teenager because I used to watch cousins play baseball all the time as a teenager. So that's why baseball became my favorite thing to watch as a sport. My favorite sport to play was basketball. What I loved about this episode is how Carl got crazed about the idea of Eddie playing that he didn't even ask Eddie what he wanted to do for a living. And it ended up where he encouraged Eddie just to find a dream. And I thought that was a very good way to end the episode. Okay, so as far as movies go, I really can't think of a lot of movies, but I can think of one movie that I would talk about. Would be a wrestling movie, one of the first movies about wrestling that I think was made in the 1970s. And it was starring Ed Asner as a promoter, I believe. And he had some great wrestlers or some legendary wrestlers. Dusty Rhodes in this movie was still tag team partners with his good friend Dick Murdoch. Ric Flair was on there training. Before he was Ric Flair, he already had the blonde hair. But the scene I would want to talk about is everybody eating together. And the reason that's important is because Ric Flair is actually in that scene, but I don't want to say who he is. I just want to do the episode. I just want to find the scene and talk about it on here. And hopefully I'm able to record it on the cell phone because this is a cell phone I'm using. Hey, so those are some of the topics I want to talk about, and I think in a few days, one episode of Family Matters I really want to talk about is going to be recording, so I want to talk about that. By the way, earlier I was talking about scenes where men and women kiss, and I wanted to let people know that I really can't explain it outside of this. In the past, when I would watch a scene like that in slow motion, because sometimes when you watch something happen really, really quick, something important can happen that you don't realize. So I can't really say what it is now, but what I will say that's important, I'll say the actual live video episode of this topic. Okay. Thank you and goodbye.